Notnerd Podcast, Episode 229, Zoombombed.
Welcome to the Notnerd Podcast. I'm Nate Heath, and we are here to help you tech better. Here with me, as always, Mr. Dave Baylor.
Well, hello to you, sir. You're looking mighty fine today.
Yes.
It's actually kind of a sunny day. It turned out to be rainy earlier. I was not a fan of that.
No, it is dry, which means the landscaping company decided that they should be outside today, so you might get some of that lovely noise in there, but that doesn't matter. We've got plenty of tech to talk about. Some follow-up. Dave, did you watch some Quibi this week?
I have to admit that I have not gotten around to watching Quibi, even though I committed to doing it. I'm finding it hard, as we mentioned before, to consume the podcasts that I am already subscribed to.
Yes.
I'm finding it hard to watch the programs I want to watch because my family's always around and they don't want to watch the same programs I want to watch. And so I'm getting farther and farther behind on stuff. So I just haven't reintroduced another infinity pool of content.
I know, there's so many of them, which we'll be talking about another one later in the show. I actually did start, I had watched Punk'd, the new version of Punk'd on there, but there's another one that is called The Most Dangerous Game with Liam Hemsworth and Christoph Waltz. I watched about the first episode and a half. Again, they're like 10 minutes long, but it is well done, and that is one of the things with Quibi is they have poured oodles and oodles of money into this, getting top talent from all over the place. Christoph Waltz, he's amazing. Liam Hemsworth, he is easy on the eyes. But yeah, anybody else, if you do get around to checking out Quibi, let me know, because I don't think Dave's going to do it per his excuses earlier. I did want to bring up, we talked about when they announced it, the new iPad Magic keyboard for the iPad Pro, which started shipping a week or two ago. John Gruber over at Daring Fireball, he posted his review, and he started out and he's like, so I took it out of the box. I did not like this thing. It was too heavy. I didn't want to like this thing. Then he goes through this review and he's basically like, 15 minutes later, I don't know how I ever lived without it. And I've seen some bits and pieces of reviews just saying that it is, somebody was even saying it is what AirPods are to earbuds. Like, it is just that much of a game changer for needing a great keyboard and trackpad for your iPad Pro, if that's something you want to do. Have you been seeing any of that stuff out there as well?
Yeah, I keep seeing reports that there are people who just don't get it. There's the outsiders who say, oh, if you add this keyboard to your iPad, then you might as well just buy a MacBook because they weigh the same. As if owning an iPad and a keyboard somehow equals owning a MacBook. It's not the same thing at all. You can't touch a MacBook. The MacBook doesn't run iOS. You can't easily remove the iPad from the keyboard on your MacBook and sit on your couch. It doesn't have pencil support. I mean, it's a completely different device. So to compare the weight of them, I would say is a strong endorsement for the iPad user, because they can say, you know what, I can add a keyboard and a stand with a trackpad to my iPad, and it's not any heavier than carrying around a MacBook.
Yeah.
It's a win for me.
Yeah.
So I see the outside people saying, hey, it's silly, just buy a MacBook. But then I see the people who use it and who ordinarily use iPads going, oh, this thing is great. The keyboard is great. The stand is great. This is not an iPad case. It's an iPad stand that's portable with a keyboard. And so when you kind of look at it through that lens, it seems to be a great product.
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anybody say that they hate the product.
No, I don't. I think once they use it and start to understand why it exists, they're falling in love with it. So if you've got an iPad Pro or been looking at one and really think you want the keyboard and the trackpad done right, this seems to be the way to go. Another quick item, we often talk about the Apple Refurbished Store and how we highly recommend buying any Apple products you can there because you get a discount, and Apple stands by those products just like they do a new one. Well, the Series 5 Apple Watch now has some availability in the refurbished store. So if you've been thinking about getting the latest and greatest Apple Watch, you can save some money there. The one that I did see was like I think the $600 with cellular model you could get for $100 off. So
that's the caveat.
Yes.
Is that the only ones in stock right now are the stainless steel, which are more expensive, and the cellular versions, which are also more expensive. So you're going to be dropping like $600 on one of these.
Yeah, and you can keep your eye out. Like Best Buy or different stores will do deals on the Apple Watches. So if you're looking for one, get in touch with us. We'll find you a deal. But the Apple Watch Series 5 is a great product, like the iPad Magic Keyboard. You know what else is always a great product? Dave's Pro Tip of the Week.
Oh, if only I could package and sell the Pro Tip of the Week, that would be incredible.
That's how we can make some money on this.
After 4 years, we finally figured it out.
Yes.
So you found a great tip on Twitter, and I have to agree. This is an area that has frustrated me some, as well as a lot of other people. I think I found a way to solve this problem. And of course, the problem that's shaking the world right now that everybody needs to focus on is the problem of your iOS notes automatically putting in a bolded large headline when you start a new note. So you may remember back in the old days when you would create a new note, well, one, it would be in like marker felt if you go way far back, and it was a terrible font. But in modern iOS notes application, you used to be able to start a note, start typing, etc. It's just plain text. Then they added the default headline. You can go up and change whether the text in your note is a piece of body, if it's like a sub-menu, if it's a headline, kind of like these outlining features, which makes sense because a lot of people use notes for outlining.
Formatting features in there that they didn't used to have.
Yeah, but one of the frustrating parts was it defaults a headline automatically, and so you start typing, and it's a larger font with bolded text. You type your headline, and if you hit return, your whole note is just going to be headline bolded. You have to do some fancy stuff or change it back, and it becomes a headache if you don't use it properly. So I'm going to show you, dear listeners, or at least explain to you, a way to turn off this auto headline that happens when you create a new note in Apple's iOS notes. So as with many things, you're going to have to navigate on your iOS device to the settings application. Mm-hmm. And within settings, you're going to have to go down to the section titled Notes. Then, under the Viewing tab in the Notes section of the settings, there is one titled New Notes Start With. And if you click on that, you have four options. New notes can start with the title, which I was calling the headline earlier. So the title, the heading, a subheading, or a body. If you want it to just be back like it used to be, select the body option. Then when you create a new note, it's just going to be standard lower sized non-bolded text to start your note. Now, I've set this a while back on some of my devices, and I did find myself kind of missing the headline feature. And you at home may feel the same way. You're like, well, it is kind of nice to have the big bold headline. But for those who are just like, you know what, I want to make a grocery list. I just want to write like, do not forget the milk or whatever. I don't want all this formatting garbage. Then you can easily turn it off by taking a trip to settings.
Nice. And I just looked on my Mac because I use notes on both. And that's one of the reasons I do, because they work very well together. That you just go up to notes up in the menu bar and go to preferences, and one of the preferences there is new notes start with, and you can switch that to body, which I have done on both of my devices and will be very happy about this moving forward.
Yeah, it's crazy how just subtly changing one thing can kind of wreck your whole workflow, and it's kind of like if it's not broke, don't fix it type of thing. Yes,
very nice, a very helpful little tip to help us out there. Well, let's move on to our takes of the week. Dave, what was that? I just got somebody's trying to join our Zoom meeting. What?
Are they Zoom bombing us
here? I think we're getting Zoom bombed right now. It's Dylan. Dylan, you just somehow hacked into our meeting, and it looks like you're at Taco Bell. What in the world's going on here?
Yeah, I'm at the world's last Taco Bell that remains with the 90s decor.
The triangles and geometric shapes everywhere. Need to zoom in on that menu up there and see what those prices were.
We're actually going to get into that in a little bit here, but yes, the prices on the menu will come into play in our conversation, I promise.
Well, what brings you here today? This is your first time actually live on the podcast, even though we're remote. You've called in many a time with tips and tricks, but what do you got for us?
Well, we chatted a little bit earlier this week. I had mentioned that I had changed my wireless carrier.
Yes.
And you guys had heard of this mobile carrier, Mint Mobile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I changed from AT&T to Mint Mobile just recently, and I'm here to give you guys kind of the rundown, my experience so far.
Nice. Do it.
Well, as you know, or maybe you don't know, Mint Mobile is a wireless carrier. It's owned by the golden boy of marketing, Ryan Reynolds. I don't know if you were familiar with that fact.
I was trying to remember in my mind real quick who was. I was like, Ryan Seacrest? No. Who's the guy that was on Dude, You Stole My Car in the 70s show?
Ashton Kutcher.
Ashton Kutcher. I was like, oh, no, it's his. But no, it's Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, so he's the I think he bought into it. I don't think he owns the company completely. You know, he owns Aviation Gin and, you know, probably other companies in his portfolio. His finances are probably so huge at some point his manager probably just says, hey, invest in this. And
spend some money.
Then we'll get the word out to the media that you own this company, you know, and really it's just it's like Jay-Z owning the Brooklyn Nets,
yes,
or whatever it is, where he owns less than 1%.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jay-Z owns the Nets. Yeah. So anyway, you might remember, or maybe the one time you've heard of this, if you aren't familiar with this brand, Mint Mobile, they had a Super Bowl ad. Did you guys see the Super Bowl ad where they had the chunky milk? Are you familiar with that?
Oh, it sounds very familiar.
Yeah, coming back, right? Okay, So that was their Super Bowl ad where they have the guy watching the commercial and saying, "Oh, those prices for your wireless phone, those aren't right." And then they show the ad for the chunky milk, and he says, "Yeah, that's not right either."
Yeah,
so it's pretty good if you want to go back and watch that on YouTube sometime. It's pretty funny. But anyway, we'll get right to the point here. My reason for switching my wireless carrier was we had AT&T for like 15 years, and I had bought an iPhone 8 like 3 years ago, and I just finally paid it off because you add that price on your wireless bill every month.
Yeah.
And they add like $25 onto it. And I finally paid it off. So I've got this iPhone 8 that was finally paid off, and my bill dropped to just about $100 a month between my phone number and my wife's phone number.
Oh.
So yeah, $100 a month. So we started looking at some cheaper options since I'm not really locked into anything. I don't have to worry about this payment for my phone anymore. So we're kind of looking around trying to figure out what was a cheaper alternative. And there's a whole bunch of these wireless carriers that are the prepaid services and a lot cheaper options. But this one, I had to go with my boy Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
We started looking into the cost plans. Kind of their gimmick or their business model is they have you prepay for a 3, 6, or 12-month period. So, but it's really cheap. You can pick like $15, $20, or $30 a month plans, and it really all just comes down to the amount of data you get. So you get unlimited calls and messaging, but then you have like 4 gigs, 8 gigs, 12 gigs. So that's really the only options they have.
Huh.
So when we all figured it all out, we're doing two $20 a month plans at 8. That's an 8 gig plan, each of our phones. So $40 a month. So it's like a $60, almost about a $50 savings a month, which is $600 a year, which you break that down to every day, that's the exact same price as a soft taco supreme at Taco Bell.
No.
Every day.
Nice.
All makes sense now.
Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
All ties together.
So just to clarify, the $20 a month, you get 8 gigs of data. Is that correct?
Yes.
That's quite
correct.
a bit. Even as a kind of a power user that I am, and I was recently switched or upgraded to a unlimited plan from what I was paying, which was like 6 gigs a month. I rarely go over like 5 gigabytes. I mean, I haven't looked in a while, but 8 gigabytes seems like a really reasonable amount, at least for, especially with that price. Right now, we are on T-Mobile, and for $25 a month, we got all 4 of us signed up, and it was like 2.5 gigs of data for each phone, and then they had a promotion where it was 4 gigs, and then I pay $15 a month extra to get my 6 gigs, which is moved into the unlimited. And so it's complicated, and what you're describing is a better plan for a family of 4 than what we are currently paying for. We could go from $100 a month down to $80 a month and have better, at least specs. So it sounds like a good option. Now, what carrier does Mint Mobile partner with to provide the service through? Because it's either going to be...
I'm glad you asked, because I have that information right here. I came prepared. I have a huge amount of notes here.
He's more prepared than you, Dave. You're replaced.
I just show up.
So Mint Mobile, they use T-Mobile's network.
Okay.
Mint Mobile is known as what is called an MVNO, mobile virtual network operator, sort of like the generic brand. Like if you ever look at your products at like Kirkland Signature diapers are just Huggies diapers that have been rebranded. They've just changed the packaging. Or, Kroger American cheese is made by Kraft. Generic cereal, they just stop the production line. They slap a different box on there and they start dumping the same product into it. So it's the same thing. It's the exact same network. You don't get the priority, I don't think, when it comes to the data and the usage. I don't know
it's
how
the leftovers.
Yeah. So, I mean, if there was some kind of surge in use by T-Mobile users, maybe your data might slow down. I don't really know how that works exactly. You guys are the experts on that.
And from what I know of the prepaid services, one of the reasons they can offer the money cheaply is because, like you mentioned, you prepay ahead of time. With most traditional phone service, they're extending you a line of credit. They're saying, we're going to give you basically free service for the month with the hope that you're going to pay us at the end of the month, because you're always post-paying this stuff. And so if they can eliminate the risk of offering credit to you, they can lower the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess one of the other drawbacks, I'll go over a couple things pros and cons that I've discovered so far about this. One of the drawbacks, of course, you have to bring your own phone to the service. Unless you want them to provide a phone for you, then they do kind of, seems like they charge you a bit of a premium. It's about $35 a month if you wanted the iPhone 11, or I think the new SE I think is a little bit cheaper than that. They do offer those, but you're really only saving a lot of money if you're bringing your own phone to their service.
Yeah. Nice. But that doesn't seem like much of a downgrade or a detriment to me, because we typically just buy our phones outright. We don't do the monthly plan. I go to Apple, I buy it. That way I'm not under any obligation to stick with any carrier. I can be more fluid. And to be honest, it is kind of a hit when you first buy the phone, especially if a carrier is willing to kind of basically give you free credit to get a phone that you pay over time. But I just don't like being beholden to them at all. So if a better deal comes along, like Mint Mobile, I want to be able to switch on the fly. So like for me, it'd be really no different. The only difference would be that I'm prepaying instead of post-paying my bill every month.
And that is kind of the cool thing when you prepay for 3 months, just to start out. You pick whatever plan you want. And then once that 3-month period is up, you can choose to do another 3 months or another 6 months, or you can prepay for an entire year and keep that same rate. So yeah, it's been so far it's been pretty great. There's no change in my service, my coverage. My data usage is pretty minimal because I'm in Wi-Fi range just about everywhere I go. I did check my AT&T data usage before switching just to kind of make sure, because I didn't really know how much data I use. And between my wife and I, we never went over 12 gigs for 2 phone lines. So 8 is plenty for me.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. There's a lot of options out there, and people, I think Verizon is the most expensive, but people, it's easy when you, like you were saying, you've been with AT&T for 15 years or whatever, so you just stick with AT&T because that's who you pay every month. But to have a lot of these options, we've talked about some before, but yeah, I'm very happy with T-Mobile's service. So having something where you're paying ahead of time instead afterwards and saving a ton of money, that makes a lot of sense. I like it.
Yeah, people are very adverse to change, but if you're willing, you can save a lot of money.
I will note just a couple of cons in the situation. There's no way to access any kind of call log. So if you had a phone number or something you wanted to go back and check and see if you missed a call and somehow lost it, there's no way to look at your call log on this. And the additional data, if you do have to purchase more data, if you run out, it's $10 for 1 gigabyte. And then if you want to do 3 gigabytes, it's $20. So you basically double your monthly bill if you run out of data.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but again, 8 gigs, that's going to be for most people. I'm looking up mine right now for last month was 19.77 gigabytes for mine, but we have unlimited, so I have everything on my phone turned on, so it's always syncing everything everywhere and downloading stuff and syncing photos and everything. So if you take a little bit of time and have your settings right, it is not going to be an issue at all.
Yeah, you want to download your copy of Deadpool before you go to the bus station.
Yes.
Watch it. Yeah, you don't want to be streaming that.
Yes, a lot of Deadpool at the bus station. That's what I've been doing during the stay-at-home orders.
Yeah. So, I mean, my opinion, if you can handle the stigma of having that Mint logo thing in the top corner rather than AT&T, you don't mind wearing the Rustler Walmart jeans rather than the Wranglers, I don't see any problem with this, man. It's been good so far.
I think the Mint logo is a badge of honor.
Yeah.
Yes, Mint is a much better word than AT&T or Verizon or T-Mobile, and I mean the holistic cost just makes sense. Well, did you have anything else for us today?
I do have one other thing to add. I do have a pro tip of the week. I assume you added that sound effect in post. Thank you very much.
Yes.
The whole thing with the Zoom custom background that I brought here with me, the Taco Bell 90s Taco Bell background. It was really easy to do in Zoom. However, my company, we've been working from home, and we use Microsoft Teams, which is sort of the ugliest stepsister of the the bunch. I think they just rolled out the custom backgrounds, probably in a hurry to compete with the popularity of Zoom.
Yes.
And they have a whole bunch you can choose from, but they don't yet, as of right now, have user uploads available.
Oh.
But if you want to submit your own photo, your own saved background you find on Google Images or wherever, there is sort of a workaround, and I'm going to share that with you right now. So if you go to this is only on a Mac that I know of for sure. This is the file path, but if you're on a PC, it's probably very similar. You would go to your username, library application support /Microsoft/Teams/backgrounds/uploads. Drop that JPEG or PNG image right in there, and boom, it will show up on the Teams app right next to all their other dorky, fake Office backgrounds, just like that.
That's a good tip. Oftentimes you can delve into the nether reaches of an application or the file structure and do things like that. So that's really nice that they've at least allowed that for now. They may shut it down later, but that's a pretty cool tip.
I'm sure they'll probably be rolling it out here very soon that you'll be able to upload your own in a much more conventional fashion through their user interface. But that's the way I've been doing it lately. I did a Microsoft Teams meeting this morning from the Al Bundy's couch, the set of Married with Children. Got some laughs out of that.
Very
How
fun.
is your company with doing fun things like that? Are they don't mind if you don't keep it all business? They're okay if you have a little fun?
I definitely pick and choose when to execute those.
Which meetings you're in?
Yeah. You got to be careful when you pull those shenanigans. You don't want to do that at a like an all office meeting, but maybe if it's just like a small team meeting where it's a little more casual.
Yes. They know who Dylan is and what he brings to the table. What was on his resume as far as creative video conferencing backgrounds. That's awesome. Yeah, you got to have a little fun with it sometime. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and he manages a team, and he put together a fruit by the foot eating competition in one of their video meetings just to do something different and see who could eat a fruit by the foot. That's a mouthful, the fastest, literally and figuratively a mouthful. But yeah, people are having to get creative because we're all getting a little little stir crazy and a little video meeting crazy as this continues to go on and on.
Yeah, speaking of craziness, Dave, I have a question for you. I heard you mention something on last week's episode. Do you have a problem with soft close lids on toilets? Is that for real?
I think I haven't gone back and listened to the original episode, but I feel like Nate is punking me. I don't remember saying anything.
We specifically had
soft lid toilets.
a discussion about how frivolous you thought a soft load, but I think maybe listening back on that episode, I think maybe you're confused with the luxurious padded foam toilet seats of the 80s. This is a new millennium here, and these are different toilet seats, and they just make sense.
Yeah, if you don't have a soft close lid, you're nuts. You're crazy.
If I had my way, everyone would just go out and dig a hole in the backyard and do their business there. I've gone from a tech person to I've turned into a Luddite. I am eschewing all technology. I'm switching my religion to Mennonite, and I'm just not going to deal with technology anymore. So you can keep your fancy, slow closed lids and your cushioned, soft toilets, and I'm just going to crap in the great outdoors.
Well, that's
fair enough.
Yeah. So Dylan, I will be calling you about recording next week's podcast since Dave has given up on technology. I think that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, Nate, you're not off the hook either, because you mentioned that you have one bathroom in your house that has a soft close lid and another one that does not, which is just asking for trouble.
Yes, it has been trouble, and so I need to do that this week, Dylan. I will report back next week. I need to get on Amazon, and hopefully they are considered essential items so that I can get a couple more soft close toilet seats, because I've had that thought, but when I'm in the bathroom, I'm usually when I'm realizing I don't have a soft close lid, that is not a time when I'm ordering things on Amazon, so I'm going to have to rectify that problem. And yes, I said rectify.
Nice.
All right. Well, I think that's it. That's all I got for you guys. I hope Ryan Reynolds is listening and he realizes I've in fact, pushed his services.
Yeah.
And will be sending me a check post haste.
Yes. Well, thanks. I don't know how you got on here. Maybe next time you come on, you can tell us about your Zoom bombing tricks. I thought Zoom had fixed their security flaws, but you're hacking away from Taco Bell's Wi-Fi there.
Yep. All right, well, good luck editing this. I hope it's as much fun editing it as it was recording it. So I'll see you guys later. Have fun with the rest of the show.
Yes, as always, it never fails whenever Dylan shows up, either in video or audio. There's always more work for me to do in the editing process. So thank you.
Yes. Okay, so after that surprise visit from Dylan, we will now move on to our takes from the week. And somewhat related, he was talking about Microsoft Teams. Facebook has quickly jumped on the bandwagon to release their new Facebook's Messenger Rooms. They have expanded the video abilities within Facebook Messenger and allowing more people to join. Now, something that I heard earlier today on a podcast that they were saying, everybody's using Zoom. I saw that they just had, I think, 300 million daily active or monthly active users for April so far, and so it's been huge, but it's still not the easiest thing. The next article we're going to talk about actually talks about some of the different services, but Zoom is not always easy. It's not the easiest service to use. There's a lot of features which we really like because it gives us some functionality that we need. But everybody's already on Facebook. They're already using Messenger. So having an easy way for people just to hop on and join the party, I think there's some advantage to that. We were just talking last week about, Facebook with their new gaming app that they've released so that, people are already on Facebook. So it makes sense for Facebook to compete with these other services because people are already there. So if you're looking to do a fast, easy video chat with people that are also on Facebook, I would definitely check this out. As always, I'll have a link in the show notes. I haven't tried this out yet. I haven't had a need to, but this is just one more way to communicate with people during this time and beyond.
Well, I'm pretty sure I will not be using this. So if anyone does, please let us know.
Yes, that is true. The next article I have, it It's not really in depth. It's more on the security side of things, but it's talking about all the different video conferencing tools and some of the benefits between them, more from a company perspective. But I mean, now you've got Zoom, classic Google Hangouts, Google Meet, the business one, Skype, Microsoft Teams, which Dylan was talking about, Slack, Cisco WebEx, Jitsi Meet, which is like an open source one where you have to set up a server and everything, Whereby, which was previously Appear.in, which I haven't even heard of, FaceTime, which again, if you're looking for easy with a couple people and they have iPhones, FaceTime super easy, Signal, which is super secure, WhatsApp, Wire, and then this new Facebook one. But there are different levels, like Dylan for work, for instance. They're in a Microsoft environment. They use their services, so they're using Microsoft Teams. If you're in a Google business environment, Google Meet makes a lot of sense. Zoom, I've looked at a lot of these other ones. I was testing out Microsoft Teams. I can't even keep them all straight. I was testing out Microsoft Teams, and it doesn't have a lot of the features, like you can't record calls, and Zoom is really the most full-featured, and they just released version 5.0, which has a lot of the security updates that they've talked about. So it's like with everything we talk about, there's a million different options, so finding the right one kind of depends on if it's for work, what work tells you to do, but otherwise, if you're just trying to set up an easy party, I would probably go, there's another one, House Party, that I haven't tried that's supposed to be kind of the fun social one. Zoom isn't the solution for everything. There's a lot of options out there, and you have to figure out what's going to work best for you.
Mm-hmm. I got nothing else to say.
Okay. Just We've been talking about Fortnite, and if you remember way back, we were discussing the fact that they were not on the Google Play Store. So if you had an Android device, you actually had to go through some steps to sideload it in. Well, they have begrudgingly entered the Google Play Store. They're not happy about it, but they realize that you're going to get a lot more downloads and a lot more people playing if you make it easy. Their problem with it is that Google takes the 30% cut, which on Apple's side, they don't have any other option. So they just have to go for it. But
you know what? They're making hand over fist on this game. It's like, I wouldn't want to share the money either or spread the love with the money. But at the same time, those platforms offer so many users. Like, without those platforms, Fortnite wouldn't exist.
Yeah.
There just wouldn't, it wouldn't exist in the same capacity. Those two platforms provide Epic in this case, a tremendous value by offering a platform that connects them to literally billions of customers.
Yes, it's true. You've got to give a little to get a lot, and Epic is doing okay right now. So I think they can get over this and just keep making tons of money. Our next story, speaking of tons of money, it's been a while, but HBO Max, their new service, they've got the HBO Go and the HBO Now and the endless list of different streaming services, but they have announced that late May they will be releasing their new HBO Max service, and it says the streaming service is set to debut amid the shutdown brought about by the novel coronavirus outbreak, and which I would say you better hurry up on that, in my opinion. But yes, we still might be in the midst of it, bringing with it 10,000 hours of library programming from across the Warner Media catalog. So the
More
price
stuff
on
to
this
watch.
one, more stuff to watch, as you were talking about, $15 per month, which is...
That's a little rich.
Yes, that is pretty rich when you can get Disney, just the Disney Plus, it's like $8. I mean, I don't think Netflix is what, $12.99 or something, but $15, I think this will kind of be the top tier of these services. They are doing some original content, and they've got a ton of back catalog, all the HBO shows, Sopranos, The Wire, Game of Thrones, WB movies. There's a lot of content here, but again, is it too expensive too late, Dave?
Well, I think they're previous offerings with they've got so many. They've got the Go, and they've got the Now, and they've got the Max now. And I seem to remember paying $15 for a couple months to watch some of their programming. I was watching Westworld. And so it seems like they're just replacing that service, but offering more of the Warner content. So it's kind of confusing to me. And I think they're trying to lessen their many offerings and just kind of have one. So the $15 a month just isn't crazy, but when you compare it to all the other services, and regarding Netflix, we downgraded actually to one TV standard definition. And wow. I was watching a show on my 27-inch iMac here in the studio last night. I couldn't tell it was standard definition. I mean, it was not as sharp as you might expect from like a 4K stream, but it was way better than what you imagine standard definition to be. And I think we're paying like $8.99 a month for that service. So it's relatively inexpensive. And in fact, that $8.99 a month allows us to watch one screen at a time in standard definition, as I mentioned, which is pretty darn good. For $12.99 a month, you can have a 2-screen experience with full HD, that's 1080p resolution. And that's what we previously had.
Yeah.
And you can also download videos and stuff to your tablets. And then, of course, premium for 4 screens and 4K content, you're going to be paying $15.99 a month for Netflix. So the answer is it really depends on what kind of user you are of these other services.
Yeah. As you said, there's just so much content out there that I don't know that I need any more services, but HBO has historically had some of those blockbuster shows that we have done that as well. You sign up for a month or two to watch it, and they will also, a reminder, they will be having the entire series of all 236 episodes of Friends, which I think is the main reason they're banking on this new service, is to have exclusive rights to Friends for all those Friends fans out there.
Well, with our internet here at home working as poorly as it has this past hour, as we're trying to do this recording, I'm thinking about ditching a couple of these services and upgrading to gigabit Ethernet on our service provider, I guess, gigabit fiber service. I think is another $20 or $30 a month.
Oh,
but
that's good.
These days, good internet is worth a couple of those streaming services in my economy.
Yeah, I've actually been surprised, watching some of the stuff on broadcast TV, the concert for coronavirus or what all these, the Disney sing-along thing, all these different things, how well the internet has worked on a lot of these live shows. And I think some of them they tape ahead and make it look live. But it does seem like people's internets are holding up okay, which is a little surprising with all the extra usage we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
We do have listeners in many countries around the world, Dave.
We do.
To the podcast. They're all over the place. And Apple announced this week that they are expanding a lot of their services in more countries around the world. The App Store, Apple Arcade, Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, and iCloud are now available in the following countries: Cameroon, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which I don't think there's anything democratic related to the Congo from what I remember to my visit to Uganda, Gabon, the Maldives, Myanmar in Asia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. Yeah, that one too. In Europe, Georgia, Kosovo, Middle East, Afghanistan. I think we had a listener in Afghanistan once, and Iraq, and then a couple other countries. And then Apple Music is also expanding to many countries. Apple has a lot of services, and they have done a very great job of expanding. Unlike some services like Netflix here in the U.S., we don't realize how limited other people's access are. We get very U.S.-centric. But Apple has done a very good job negotiating and making these services available around the world. So if you're in a country that hasn't had access to some of those Apple services, go check out this link in the show notes, and maybe now is your time.
And I expect somebody from the Maldives to start listening to our podcast now that Apple Podcasts are available there.
Yes.
And I want to visit.
We can only hope. And they do also, further down the article, they announced that there are now over 1 million podcasts in Apple Podcasts. And on the Libsyn podcast that we listen to, that is a podcast about podcasts, we've mentioned it before, I believe that they said that they consider about 75% of those to be non-active podcasts, which is something like less than 10 episodes and or it's been at least 6 months or something since they've had an episode. So having 1 million podcasts does not mean that there's that many active ones. That's just how many are listed in there, since they will usually just live on in eternity within the podcast app. But it does make it very hard when you're trying to find a specific podcast, because there's quite a few random ones in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to sift through what you want, and even if it's kind of some niche ones, you might miss them because a lot of these platforms will recommend the really popular ones.
Yes,
and some of the niche ones fall through the cracks.
Yeah. Every single celebrity in the world has a podcast now, it seems like, and some of those have probably gone on inactive as well. I was just listening to the Adam Carolla podcast, as I do daily, and he had Rob Lowe on there, the actor of Community fame and many other vehicles, but he is starting a new podcast now, and it's like, hey, leave podcasts to the little guys.
Yeah.
Our last take of the week, I am very excited about this one, as long as people are using a current version of Microsoft Word, which I would guess there is some correlation to the version of Microsoft Word you're using and whether or not you do this. Microsoft Word now flags double spaces after period as errors. Now, all growing up, from as far as I can remember, we were taught that after a period, you put 2 spaces. Well, I don't know exactly when this changed, but the standard now is that you put 1 space after a period.
Well, Nate, I can tell you, having grown up in a similar time as you, I'm a little bit older than you.
Yes,
but
more
we would
mature.
Use our Smith Corona typewriters. Yes, a typewriter where you press a button and a mechanical thing will hit a piece of ribbon which puts ink on a paper. It seems so archaic, but that's the way people used to type.
Yes.
In that case, except for a few exceptions, most typewriters were monospaced in that every character of the font had the same width and height. And in order to distinguish between sentences, it was important to put 2 spaces after a period to denote a new sentence. Well, when scalable spacing fonts came on board with computer publishing revolution, variable space fonts, you didn't need a double space after the period because the font spacing accommodated that.
Gotcha.
So if you did a double space, it would just be really big. And anyway, I learned about all this stuff in graphic design classes, and if you're interested, there's tons of resources online to learn about typography. But with modern systems that do not use monospaced fonts, it's not necessary to do the double space. So I think Microsoft is correct in showing it as an error, because I can't tell you how many documents I've read from people who are maybe a little older that every sentence has 2 spaces. And what even is kind of more frustrating is that many of them will have a mix. Some of them will be 1 space and some of them will be double space. And it's like, pick one.
Yes. And there will be a way in Word where you can, ignore permanently if you are adamant about the double space. But I thought it was a good reminder that if you do some typing, just do the single space. It's going to be okay, people.
Yep. Unless you're using an old typewriter, please.
Yeah.
It's like, with me, you can probably tell a little, it's kind of like vertical video. I don't like vertical video. I don't like double spaces after periods. Go on. We were talking earlier. I don't like leaf blowers either. I think gas leaf blowers should be illegal. But anyway, before we start getting into politics, and this is the most non-partisan tech podcast on the internet, I will defer to our next topic.
Okay. Security and privacy stories of the week. Dave, Nintendo confirms 160,000 Nintendo accounts accessed in hacking attempts.
This is the first I've heard of this, actually. And I was looking over the notes earlier today. I guess I didn't get to this one. So that means that my account may have been hacked, and I didn't even know it.
Yes.
It's frustrating.
I did hear elsewhere that you can turn on two-factor authentication where they'll send you a code for your Nintendo account, but that is probably, if you are active with your Nintendo account, or even if you're not, it might be worthwhile to go turn that on. I'm guessing, and it does say in the article, affected users will also be notified via email, but that could go to your spam or anything. So you might want to at least change your password, and you would probably want to turn on your two-factor authentication like we recommend for your security.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sadly, Nintendo tries to make everything as hard as possible to do. So it's probably why a lot of people don't have it turned on, because it's a big enough pain just to get into your account. So anyway, I'm hoping that they have learned a lesson with security and make things better. But at this point, I'm so desensitized to security breaches. It doesn't really matter.
True. Somebody taking a step to help with security and privacy and avoid scams and the like, Google is now going to make all of its advertisers prove their identity. So we've been talking about, especially with COVID-19, that there's been a lot of scams, and so people trying to sell snake oil or other nefarious products related to all of this have been trying to do Google ads, which they're always trying to check the quality and block those. But they're going to add a step in where you have to prove your identity so that they are able to kind of track people better that are advertising on Google, which I think is a very good step.
And it kind of feels like, why wasn't this done before?
Yes.
And I can tell you why. It always comes back down to money, is because they don't care where the money comes from as long as the money's coming in. But when they start to see real world repercussions and consequences of kind of being fast and loose with this, it's good that they're at least making efforts to mitigate damages.
Yes, and that is true. Our bonus odd take of the week. Dave, did you check this out yet? You can now watch all 9 Star Wars films at once.
I've seen similar stuff like this in the past, where it'll show a grid of films and then you just hit play and it'll do them.
Yes.
And it's usually like at 10 times speed, so that you can watch the whole thing really fast.
This is at full-time speed. I would recommend maybe watching the first couple minutes for the intros, because that syncs up well. I kind of scrubbed through it a little bit, but somebody did a pretty good job of getting them all synced up and putting it into 9 little windows, like a Zoom call, so that if you were really trying to watch all 9 of them in a short amount of time, fire this up and watch away. We have, I've mentioned before, we are now a Star Wars household, thanks to, well, mostly thanks to your pick of the week for the Lego Star Wars game, which my daughter and I believe now are about 72% of the way through the game. But she is very much into all things Star Wars, and when she decides that she wants to be sassy, she becomes Queen Amidala, or whatever she is able to pronounce on that. Queen Amidala, that is her sassy personality that she becomes. Whenever she finds a walking stick on a walk, she crouches over and becomes Yoda. It is pretty entertaining. So again, I thank you for Lego Star Wars. That has really opened the universe of Star Wars to our family.
Well, you are welcome for that. And just like peanut butter and chocolate, Lego and Star Wars were meant to go together.
Yes. Yes. And you know what else always opens the universe? Our picks of the week.
So I made huge splashes on the internet this past week by releasing a song I did using my pick of the week, the Voloco app on iOS. It's also available on Android. And Voloco is a vocoder. A vocoder is a device, a software, a whatever that duplicates your voice in different pitches so that you can sing one note and it gives you a harmonized rendition of like other voices singing. You'll hear it in music a lot. One of the famous ones is Hide and Seek by Imogen Heap. Are you familiar with this one?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's just all vocal. There's no instrumentation at all, but she sings into a vocoder. And anyway, if you're familiar with that song, you know exactly what it is. But you can download the app for free. It does have some additional features that you can pay for by subscribing. It's not necessary to do a subscription. And I got to tell you, if they said, hey, pay me $4.99 to unlock the features, I would do it. But I'm not going to pay a subscription to do it.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. But it's a lot of fun. And it works surprisingly well. I mean, it is modern hardware in phones is so amazing. You plug in your headset, you start singing, and instantaneously your voice is duplicated. It's a lot of fun.
Very nice. It is.
You should get some headphones, plug it into your iPhone, and let Isla play around with it. I think she'd get a kick out of it.
That is true. She does love her music as well. So maybe we'll check out the Veloco, and I will link to your video in the show notes so that you can check out Dave's musical masterpiece.
Tens of people have enjoyed that. Let's make it double.
Yes. Oh, we will do that for you. Give it the Notnerd bump. Well, my pick of the week, we have talked several times, and it was a pick of the week, and we brought it back up in top lists and everything, is the subscription service setup for Mac, where you pay $10 a month, and you get access to a huge swath of applications. And one of the ones, every once in a while, I'll just go in there and see, hey, what's new? What am I not using? What could I use to make my life easier and to tech better? And one of the ones that I have started using is called OneSwitch.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a software for your Mac. You can buy it straight out for $5, or it's part of Setup. And it just puts one more little icon up into your menu bar on the top of your Mac computer. And it looks like two little sliders, and you click on it, and it just gives you, I've probably got a dozen different simple switches on there. Now, you can customize it. You can do different ones. You can also program keyboard shortcuts for these different things. But it has, the top one is hide desktop icons. So sometimes if I'm doing a video screen recording or something and I just want to get all those icons out of the way, just flip a switch. Dark mode, flip a switch. Keep it awake. There's times where I'm processing something on my computer and I don't want it to go to sleep after a certain amount of time. You just flip a switch. Just one switch. Turn on your screensaver, your AirPods. We've talked about other ways to quickly connect your AirPods to your computer, but it's in there. Turn on Do Not Disturb, Night Shift, True Tone, show hidden files. So if you have system files, which most people do not need access to, but you can turn that on. Change screen resolution. There's two. The last two are nice ones, especially on my laptop. There is one for screen clean. And so you can do that, and you flip it on, and then it'll make it very easy so you can see where all those smudges are on your screen. And then the other one's lock keyboard, so you can lock your keyboard if you're trying to clean that without having to shut down your computer, so you can wipe it down and not be pressing a bunch of keys and opening stuff and deleting stuff and all that good stuff.
Very interesting. Yes. I did see this one in your pick of the week, and I went in and downloaded it, and it's going to replace my little Tooth Fairy AirPod connection tool, because you can just hit the switch here and do the same thing, among other things, and I can save myself a space in my menu bar.
Yes.
So it's really cool.
The precious real estate of the menu bar, which fills up quickly with all the different stuff that we recommend all the time. But I really enjoy that. And you know what else I enjoy every week? Looking through our anonymous Amazon affiliate reports, when you guys click through our Amazon links and we get a little kickback on stuff. And I actually do know who purchased this one, because we had a discussion about it earlier this week. Friend of the show, Todd, who explained to us that he had a debilitating ice skating injury several years ago, which has caused him ongoing pain. And so he went on Amazon and he purchased the Avon rechargeable TENS unit muscle stimulator 3rd gen 16 modes TENS machine with 8 pieces, 2-inch by 2-inch premium electrode pads, American gel for pain relief.
So, yeah, and from our conversation with him, it seems that this product actually works pretty well, or at least a similar product does. So hopefully he can avoid ongoing pain from his injury, and maybe he'll start to heal.
Yes. We can only hope for Todd. And my wife actually has one of these for some back pain that she had, and I have used it as well. It is a weird feeling. You put these pads on different spots, and then you can adjust the settings on there, and it'll feel like somebody's like kind of massaging you, or just like these electric shocks going through you.
Yeah.
It is, it's very unique if you haven't used one before.
I kind of feel like I need to get one because I have some ongoing shoulder, neck, and back pain that happens every once in a while, just from the way I sleep, or I have a family history of bad backs. I think something like this might actually work for me.
Yes. Yeah. They are very nice little products. And Dave, I just sent you a picture. This one is much nicer than the one we have. It has a very cool, it almost looks like maybe a Zune, a Microsoft Zune, or an iPod with a little...
An old phone.
Yeah, controls at the bottom. And then you get all these pads and little carrying case and some different attachments. You charge it via USB. But Dave, what would you pay for the Avon rechargeable 10s unit muscle stimulator?
This is going to be a product I think is going to be a little bit higher in value. And I'm going to go with like $80. What this thing costs.
Well, Todd found a steal. This one is $29.98.
I didn't think they were that low.
Yeah.
I was going to think $60 would be a steal, especially since it seems to have a lot of value in what it does.
Yes.
Seems like they could charge more.
And there are ones you can pay. As with anything, you can pay whatever you want on these. The price range, this looks to be one of the cheaper ones. Todd seemed to think that it was working well for him. I forget what we paid for ours. I think I got it on a deal elsewhere. But a TENS, TENS unit is what you're looking for. And I'll have a link to this one in the show notes. It does have 4.5 stars on 928 review. Or no, sorry about that. 4.5 stars on 2,300 reviews. And it is in stock, at least locally here, and will deliver by Wednesday, as we have to pay attention to that, as some Amazon products are not available anytime soon.
Yeah, I ordered a screen adapter for a monitor for your computer, and it was like 2-3 weeks. I couldn't believe it. I'm used to getting this stuff almost overnight for free. So
yes,
we
have been spoiled with many things in life that are not happening right now. But with that, I think we have talked on long enough, especially with our Zoom bomb from Dylan earlier. But we love doing this podcast every week, and we think that you love listening to it. If you do, let us know. If you don't, let us know. Let us know what you want more of. Let us know what you want less of. And always, stay safe and tech better. It looks like there's almost some sort of filter or something going on. Like your beard looks like snakes. You've got some weird...
Maybe I do.
Minicam or your Snapchat or...
Snakes, huh?
Well, that's why we don't do video.